Why is Critical Role such a big hit? I think there is one special sauce that Critical Role uses on their campaign that has a huge influence on how cool their game sessions are, and this often goes unnoticed by many viewers. We think this special sauce could easily be applied on any campaign. Hello and welcome to the Deep Dice Press, an indie publisher focused on developing D&D products for DMs and players who love role-playing and storytelling. Our products use the full IP and content of the core rulebooks and all other official D&D publications and are extensively play-tested with our regular D&D groups. If you're interested in the content of this video and would like to know more about it, click on the link on the description below to download for free our booklet, Make Your Characters' Backstories Matter. If you find this content helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell to receive notifications of new videos with similar content. You can also find the links for our social media on the description down below. If you want to check out a module where we apply all concepts discussed in this channel, look out for our new campaign, The Kingdom of Cormyr, One Purple Raven, available this summer. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. First of all, we'll talk about the special sauce Critical Role uses in their campaign, the tie-in between characters' backstories and campaign plots. That not only helps creating exciting D&D adventures, but also stimulates players' emotional engagement. We'll then share how D&D rulebooks fail to deliver a more comprehensive discussion regarding this subject. Worse, published D&D adventures are the current blueprint for anyone who wants to build their homebrew campaign, but their very nature prevents them from setting an example of how to tie in plots and backstories. Finally, we'll advocate a simple but powerful idea. Campaign plots should be created starting from the player characters' backstories. We'll also share the benefits of doing that. So join us, won't you? Why is Critical Role such a big hit? A part of the answer is there are a bunch of crazy talented voice actors able to masterfully role-play their characters and collectively guide the story. Another significant reason is certainly Matthew Mercer's skill as a dungeon master, who is able to bring to the table outstanding creativity, growing suspense, perfect timing, and a jaw-dropping ability to improvise on the spot. We could go on and on about the talent of those individuals and their combined strength as a group. All of that could not be easily mimicked by a given group of D&D players who have not dedicated their professional lives to performance arts. But I think there is one special sauce that Critical Role uses on their campaign that has a huge influence on how cool their game sessions are, and this often goes unnoticed by many viewers. Most importantly, for those of you who love role-playing and storytelling, like we do, we think this special sauce could easily be applied on any campaign. I'm talking about how Critical Role makes sure the characters' backstories are closely tied into the main campaign plots. We managed to do that on our last D&D homebrew campaign, and it brought transformative outcomes to our gameplay experience. If you're a Critical Role fan like ourselves, you've probably noticed how its characters' backstories are closely tied into the campaign plots. I can assure you that's a key element for the success of not only Critical Role adventures, but all D&D campaigns that favor role-playing and storytelling. When you're able to build your campaign considering that, you're bound to meaningfully increase player immersion as well as heighten their emotional involvement with the story being told. As show viewers, we are gradually introduced to each of the characters' backstories through each session, getting to know complex features of their pasts. In other words, as the story unfolds, its characters' backstories unfold as well. In the end of the day, the main story of the campaign isn't really its plot, but rather all the revelations and plot twists that connect the characters' pasts to the main story. Previous events in the life of each of the characters are key to how their present and future will unfold. You may have noticed that many of the Critical Role players eagerly pick up their pencils and take notes when some particularity of someone else's backstory is revealed. Why do they do that? Well, they know such information is relevant to the main plot. Each player is much interested in the past of every other character, as they know they all make part of the story as a whole. There is an inherited curiosity about the content of all backstories, and the players know that every detail is somehow connected to the main plot. The big plot twists of Matthew Mercer's campaigns are often connected to the characters' backstories. That's when the story offers the characters a recognition moment with their own past. This is a storytelling technique as old as ancient Greece, and we'll talk a bit more about that in coming videos. And that's why it's so important to have the characters' backstories tied into the campaign. It is a key element to create a story where players not only have fun, but also get emotionally invested with the adventure. Such surprising moments are one of the reasons Critical Role stories are so exciting. Try that in your campaign and see how it changes your players' engagement with the adventure. They immediately understand their characters are an important part of the campaign, and that all work they've put into their characters' backstories finally matters. If characters' backstories are so important, where can we find that discussion in the D&D rulebooks? Well, there's not that much talk about it, to tell the truth. We've discussed in other videos how emotionality is key for a good story. The more a story is able to connect and move the feelings of an audience, the better it is. We've also talked about the approach we use to build this emotionality, which we call the 3 S's: sympathy, suspense, and surprise. In this video, our focus is sympathy, which is 1. The player's connections with their own characters, and 2. How their characters in turn are actually connected to the story. It is the combination of those 2 factors that creates immersion and emotional connection of players with the story, enhancing the gameplay experience. And yet, such a discussion lasts only 4 paragraphs in the D&D rulebooks. More specifically, in the DM's Guide, Chapter 6, in the session involving characters. The Dungeon Master's Guide is an outstanding reference for world building as well as for creation of adventures, encounters, and NPCs. It also brings interesting discussions about campaign building and development, most of it placed in the second half of Chapter 1, and also a small but relevant discussion on campaigns placed in the first 2 pages of Chapter 6. It does not, however, bring any discussion on storytelling techniques, such as the ones we're talking about. The importance of building up suspense or surprise, for instance. What delivers the highest player engagement in a D&D campaign? The fact that the campaign plots are built mainly considering their characters' backstories. In Chapter 6 of the DM's Guide, the session involving the characters explicitly mentions that, quote unquote, this is the player's opportunity to tie their character's history and background to the campaign, and a chance for the DM to determine how the various elements of each character's background tie into the campaign story. That is then followed by some kind of just 2 simple examples. What we advocate for you who enjoy role-playing and storytelling is a radical emphasis on that. The DM's Guide seems to suggest that character backstories and campaign plots should be developed alone and then tied up together. We believe such a weak link does not stimulate enough player engagement. What we strongly advocate is that campaign plots should mainly consider the player characters' backgrounds and vice versa. That's what delivers the highest player engagement in a D&D campaign. It's also worthy mentioning the 2 other books which bring discussions regarding player characters' backstories. One of them, of course, is the chapter on personality and background in the player's handbook. It is certainly a great starting point for developing interesting, one-of-a-kind characters. But the real fun is the This Is Your Life session in Xanatar's Guide to Everything. This delightful read will help you think of different aspects of character backstories to create a colorful individual. But remember, talk to your DM and players. Build together the campaign plot points. Leverage them to integrate your character into the plot and feed your character backstory for the DM so they can further think which marvelous or wicked surprises they may bring for your characters as the campaign develops. For me, a very upsetting part of published adventures is how hard it is to make the story matter for my character. Even worse, how hard it is to make my character matter for the story. It feels like my character backstory and the adventure are totally disconnected. Do you also feel like that? That's an important restraint for those of us who enjoy role-playing, as it limits characters' interactions and player immersion. A published D&D campaign saves DMs writing and prepping time, and guarantees the story will meet a certain quality standard set by Wizards of the Coast. On the other hand, it restrains how much a player character may be tied into the adventure plot. There's always the alternative of the DM searching the adventure model for plots that could fit into the character backgrounds, but that's a load of work with questionable results. Published adventures themselves have tried to foster the player character's tie-in with the adventure with varied results. Examples range from character hooks tied to backgrounds, new character backgrounds and new races, often presented in published campaigns, to more specific things like Icewind Dale's character secrets, Feywild's trinkets, and even the super cool Lost Things backstory hooks, as well as dragon heists, noble families, guild memberships, and factions affiliations. All of that helps a lot to bring loose player characters to the adventure's mood and setting, but it still ties them far less into the campaign main plots as they could or would in a homebrew campaign. And that's a clear trade-off between running a D&D published adventure or a homebrew campaign. Are you sure you're using your character backstories in the best possible way? We believe most D&D groups are not, and there are strong reasons for that. The D&D rulebooks only set the initial stage for the best use of characters' backstories in a D&D campaign. We believe the best practices are not written in any official products. The player's handbook sets the basic framework for a good character story: personality and background. Xanatar's Guide to Everything brings colorful flavor with its This Is Your Life session. The Dungeon Master's Guide suggests characters' history and backgrounds should be tied into campaigns, and published campaigns try to bring tie-in options, even though they end up working much better in terms of mood and setting and less in actual campaign plots tie-ins. And there's the rub. Because like it or not, published D&D 5e campaigns are the obvious blueprint, the evident benchmark for a whole new generation of players whose main reference of how to design a D&D campaign are those published modules. So, think with me. If the rulebooks don't show us how to best use characters' backstories, and the published adventures are not able to do so, that means there's no great references from official publications. That in turn means we're either not making the best use of character backstories, or we are putting our own effort to figure it out by ourselves. And that is already enough for us to believe that this is an important conversation to have. We have been often ruining our D&D campaigns before they even start, and I can show you why. Most of the time, player character backstories are created considering the campaign plots established by the DM. Sometimes they're even completely unrelated. What happens in such examples is that the PC stories and motivations are only loosely related to the campaign plot. That's not how storytelling is built in any other media, and there's a reason for that. We establish our connection to a given story or plot through the main characters of that story. We see the world through their eyes and feel their feelings. In D&D, that's even more important, as the players are at the same time audience, actors, and writers of that story. What we are saying is that in order to achieve great role-playing and storytelling moments in a D&D campaign, players must care about their characters, and their characters must care about the story. But how do we make sure that happens? For those of you who value role-playing and storytelling as the core of D&D, we're really talking about a simple but powerful idea. Campaign plots should be created starting from the player characters' backgrounds, and not the other way around. How can we tie player characters' backstories with a D&D campaign plot? The short answer is together. Our experience shows that the exchange of ideas between DMs and players before a D&D campaign starts brings lasting results. You have probably found out, either because of a good or bad experience, the importance of a group discussing and choosing together what should be the playstyle and flavor of fantasy, aka genre, of their campaign before starting playing together. Otherwise, the gameplay experience could prove to be very frustrating, as D&D may be played as anything between a tactical board game with lots of dice rolls to an improv play with nothing but role-playing. Those are very different experiences, and making sure you and your group are playing the same game is key before you start your campaign. What we are suggesting is going one step further. A DM and his group of players should not only discuss playstyle and genre, but they should also discuss what kind of story they want to tell. They should discuss together what should be the campaign plots. The DM should pitch the plots that they have thought about, and the players should pitch the character backstories they would like to portray. We would expect that new story plots and new characters' backstories would arise from such an exchange of ideas. Above all, the end result should be a deep connection between character backstories and motivations and campaign plots. That's what will lay the ground to drive player immersion and emotional involvement with a campaign. That is the secret sauce we're talking about. In upcoming videos, we'll discuss a 7-step approach we have built to help our group to do that. We hope it also proves to be helpful for you. Critical Role's Matthew Mercer uses those techniques that we have discussed as the special sauce to develop his campaigns. Matt goes as far as using fragments of storylines or NPCs of previous campaigns in whichever adventures he's currently running. All those plot lines directly tied into character backstories make the Critical Role players often react saying things like, "Oh my god, Matt! Everything is connected!" As show viewers, we get connected to the story and watchful of the players' reactions. The awe, surprise, and amazement in their faces sprout on the screen and make us get attached to the narrative. When players go through unexpected situations, especially when they are related to their character backstory, we feel emotionally connected to the campaign streaming. If we feel like that, can you imagine how the players themselves feel at moments like that while they are happening at their game table right in front of them? I guess you can, because you have probably felt this feeling at least once in your games, and you certainly remember how cool that was. That's the kind of feeling that we want to happen at our game table as often as possible. And you and your group don't need to be talented voice actors to reach that. You will have moments like that very often, as long as you manage to integrate your characters' backstories to your campaign plots. Truth is, the Dungeon Master is responsible for presenting the narrative, but the stories are collectively told with the players, so they should be involved as early as possible. Players may have key contributions to the story if their characters' backstories are considered and developed along with the main campaign plot from the very beginning. That's the kind of thing that makes players feel they are part and parcel of the narrative, and they get to be even more pleasantly surprised when they get to watch the backstories they have created building up in front of their own eyes as the campaign unfolds. One of the special sauces for a successful campaign is tying up characters' backstories into the main campaign plot. Even more importantly, to make sure the stories created by the players are in fact relevant to the campaign as a whole. Matthew Mercer is able to masterfully do it, and that's one of the main reasons for Critical Role's success. We can learn from him and make sure we build our campaigns in a similar fashion. If you like this video, you may want to check out other videos in our series on how to create outstanding D&D stories. All videos from this series, along with others, are available in our YouTube channel. Make sure you also follow us in our social networks. You may find all links in the description below. This is the third video of this series. Clicking on the screen, you may check the first 2 videos of this series. What makes a D&D campaign good at role-playing and storytelling, and how to write good role-playing and storytelling moments for your D&D campaign. If you think it might be interesting for you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for the new content. In this series, we discuss what we believe to be the core elements of an outstanding D&D campaign for players who enjoy role-playing and storytelling. Great characters and great stories. In the Great Characters videos, we talk about the importance of backstories, allies, bringing the party together, and how to connect all of that to an outstanding D&D campaign. In the Great Stories videos, we discuss topics such as building up tension and suspense, plot lines, plot twists, villains and patrons, as well as advanced storytelling techniques. And yet, the best way to create great adventures is getting inspiration from great ideas. So be sure to share your great ideas and experiences in the comments down below. What was the best character backstory that you ever saw coming alive? I am sure your experience will inspire not only us, but many others. Thank you for sharing this moment with us. We are the Deep Dice Press.